Hey friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I'm so excited that you decided to take time out of your day to spend with me because today we are doing our November wrap up. And you know, November was a month. It was a month. It was an interesting life month. It was a mid reading month, Yeah, that's all I gotta say. So, in terms of stats, we read 11 books, and that totaled up to 3,902 pages. And my average rating was a 3.36. And I'm pretty sure I said that October was my best reading month, and life was like, haha, you thought you had the best, now I'm going to give you possibly maybe the worst. I wouldn't even say it was like a bad reading month. It was just mid, you know? So, yeah. Let's just get into these books and talk about what happened, okay? So, I'm going to start off with my one DNF from the. No. Y'all, I didn't DNF any books. Maybe I should have. Maybe that's why my average rating is so low. T. Anyway, and yeah, so let's start off. You know how we do it, going from the lowest rated to the highest. So we always end on a good note. And yeah, let's just hop in. So, first off, we're going to talk about where we end and begin by Jane Igharo. Friends, so this was rated a 1.5 star, and I'm not going to say much about this book because I don't want to like rant about books and like really talk down and bad about them just because I did not enjoy them. I gave all of my thoughts in my most recent reading vlog where I was binging books, and that is where I talked about this. So if you want to know my thoughts on that, just head on over there because, I don't want to repeat that. I don't. But this is a second chance romance where our two main characters grew up together in Nigeria, and their parents did not want them to be together basically because Donnie was rich and Obina was poor. And so they just thought that they were too different to have a successful relationship. And Dunny moved to America for college. And about 12 years later, she comes back for a friend's wedding and reconnects with Obina, and a lot of things happen. And I didn't necessarily have a problem with the writing or the storytelling in this book. My problem was how the characters were acting because they were acting and not in a good way. Okay, so yeah. Next up, I Accidentally Summoned a Demon Boyfriend by Jessica Cage, and this was a 3-star for me. This was actually just like a really cutie, fun monster romance. It's not usually my thing, but this one sounded intriguing enough that I wanted to try it out. So, our main character, y'all know I don't remember her name, Raina. Raina is in a friend group where she's the only single friend, and all of her friends have basically abandoned her for their relationships. They don't really hang out anymore, or if they schedule to hang out, they usually bail on her. And so she's really irritated by that. She's going on a string of bad dates trying to find her person, and she has this really awful date. And after that, she downs a whole bottle of wine and summons a demon boyfriend. She is an alien smut reader, girly pop, and in one of the books that she was reading, there is like a spell where essentially the character did the same thing, but of course she doesn't think that it's real because it's in a fantasy book. And so she does it, and this man, I don't know his name. No, I really don't know his name, but this demon pops up and she thinks it's a dream, but it is not because he's there the next morning, and it just kind of goes from there. This had a lot more action and was a lot heavier on the fantasy plot than I was expecting it to be, but not in a bad way. I just thought this was going to be like a heavily focused on the romance, but I think it was pretty equal and it was fun. Am I a monster romance girl? Don't know. But I think she's coming out with a vampire companion to this series, or they're standalones or something. They're in the series together, but I don't think you have to read them in order. And I think I'm gonna check that out because y'all know I am a vampire girly through and through. So yes. And then I read the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore, and I listened to this on audio, and it was also a 3-star for me. It was very atmospheric. I love the small town that Laurie Gilmore has built out in this series, and I like all the characters, and just, the vibes are always there for these books. And in this one, we're following Hazel, who is about to turn 30, and she has kind of realized that she has lived her life, on the safe path, and she hasn't really had her wild time, and she works slash runs the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. And one day she's, doing some cleaning and finds a note, or kind of like a clue, in one of the books for her. And so she feels like, this is her chance to, follow it, do something a little weird, a little kooky, and just see where it takes her. And she enlists the town playboy Noah to help her in this because she knows he's a fun time. And I mean, it doesn't help that they are both attracted to each other. So that is what this is. And I mean, I liked the premise of this. My problem was the mystery that we are trying to solve. When we found out who done it didn't work for me. I didn't like how that happened. So yeah, but I still enjoyed the book. I just wish I was handled a little differently. My next 3-star was The Dating Playbook by Farrah Rochon. This also, I feel like it was fun. It was good. I don't think it was really memorable, but I enjoyed the story while I was reading it. And in this one, we are following Taylor, who has started her own personal training business, and she's struggling a little bit. She's in a buttload of debt, and she is trying to figure out how to make money, but some people are refusing her services because she does not have a college degree. And so she's really wrestling with that because she has, some issues with school, a lot of anxiety surrounding school. And that is something that you find out later on in the book why. So I'm not going to tell you, but yeah. So this random man whose name is Gilmore takes one of her fitness classes and then tells her that he wants her to be his personal trainer because he is a former he is a former football player and wants to get back into the NFL after a knee injury, and he feels like Taylor is the perfect person to get him back into tip-top shape. So that is what this is. But Gilmore doesn't want anyone to know that he's trying to get back into the league. In case he fails, he doesn't want, the flack and the backlash of that. And one day, Taylor and Gilmore are kind of seen out, and to keep people from guessing or figuring out that she is his trainer, Taylor tells the reporter, I think, that they are dating. So a fake dating situation ensues, and we just kind of go from there. I really liked how both Taylor and Gilmore had some really heavy things that they were dealing with, but they helped each other work through those so they could grow individually and eventually, grow as a couple. And also my favorite thing about this book and this boyfriend project series is the friendship between Samaya, London, and Taylor. I feel like they are really good friends to each other, and they're, telling the truth, holding each other accountable, helping when they can, all the things that good friends should do. So I really enjoyed that. My next 3-star, you get my drift when I say, mid, right, is How to Fake It with a Fae. And this was fun. And I'm saying that about all of these, but I mean, I did have a fun time reading these books. They just weren't the most memorable in my opinion. So in this book, we are following Addie, And I'm doing really good. Like I'm telling you these character names like off the top of my head. I don't have any synopses or anything pulled up, so I'm like really having to like search my memory, and I'm doing a good job. Like I'm proud of myself so far, you know. Period. But anyway, we're following Addie, who also is about to turn 30, and she is born into this really well-known witch family, and witch families are matriarchies, and so powers, responsibilities, all the things are passed down to the oldest daughter, the next oldest daughter, and that would be Addie. But the problem is Addie never got her magic. She never really came into her powers. She ain't got nothing. And so she is stressed out about that. And also, the family's power is growing weaker. And so the girls need to marry and to keep the power running in the family line, if that makes sense. Addie doesn't want to be married. She's having a hard time even just dating because people want to date Addie because they know she comes from a well-known witch family and they want that connection. But once they find out that she doesn't have any magic of her own, they basically dump her and move on to someone else. So she's like, there's no way I want to like subject myself to this. So something happens in the family which causes Addie to go back to her hometown where she has this series of weird meetings with this man named Phelan. And while they're at a ball, Addie's ex-boyfriend kind of does something embarrassing, and so Phelan kind of jumps in to save Addie and say that they are engaged. And when he does this, it awakens some ancient Fey magic, and now Addie and Phelan are bound together almost literally because they can't be a certain distance apart. Like they have to stay close together. Yeah, we just kind of go on this fake dating journey, and this is really fun. And I'm gonna stop saying that, or like maybe take a shot for every time I say fun, or maybe not. That might be kind of dangerous. But this was whimsical. This was a little cringe, but you know, that's kind of my thing. And yeah, I did have a few problems with how some things played out because Phelan has an interesting relationship with the family, and literally everybody knew but Addie. Even after their engagement was announced, nobody thought to tell her. And then Phelan does some really terrible things, but they're kind of glossed over. And I just, you know, there were no consequences for his actions, but you know, sometimes that's how it goes. But yes, I liked this, and I'm excited to continue on because this is going to be a series of standalones, and it's like 7 suitors for 7 witches because there are 7 siblings in this family. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fun time. All right, sorry about that. I needed to take a little break, but I'm back. So yeah. Okay. And what I think is our last 3-star is Fall Into You. And this is a novella by Georgina Kiersten. And this was very atmospheric, very fallish, just like the name. And we are following Amari. There we go. We're following Amari, and she has recently moved to the town of Appley with one of her best friends because she was running away, because she was recently a runaway bride and is kind of dealing with all of the implications of that and just wanted a new start. And so, yes, she moves to this really cute small town, and while she's like at a festival, she runs into her childhood best friend, Cassidy, and they catch up. They kind of lost touch when they were kids because Cassidy moved away, and now they have this like, you know, instant attraction to each other, and they're catching up with each other, you know, just seeing who they are after all these years. And yeah, it's pretty insta lovey, but I didn't mind that. I mean, this novella is less than 100 pages, so it kind of has to be insta lovey, and it kind of helped because they knew each other growing up, so it's kind of like you're relearning a person instead of, you know, starting from scratch. So this was very cute. We got some plus size rip in this black queer rip, and I enjoyed it. It was so spicy, little cute time, you know. be what it needed to do. And I have one 3.5 star this month, and that was Vicious Bonds by Shanora Williams. And this is a romantic fantasy. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull our main character's name out of my head. I'm thinking Willow for some reason, but I'm going to have to look it up. Yeah, her name is Willow. So technically, I didn't look that up. I was right. We're still on a roll. Willow is having a hard time with life right now. Her brother disappeared and they don't know what happened to him. You know, at this point, they're just saying that he's dead, but she doesn't believe that. And her mother is gone and she doesn't have a relationship with her father. So she is feeling very lonely. And she has also been self-medicating in some unhealthy ways, and she occasionally hears this voice in her head that does not belong to her. It's a man's voice and it freaks her out, but it just like comes and goes. It's not like a constant thing. And so one night she gets high and is basically teleported into another world. And in this world, she hears or meets the man behind the voice that she heard in her head. And basically, they are trying to figure out why they can hear each other's voices, how to stop it, and also how to get Willow back to her own world. And the world that she has popped into, I think the guy's name is Cass. But since it's sitting right here, let me check and be sure. I'm right again. That's cute. Okay, so in Kaz's world, it's very violent, very gritty. Of course, there's magic that comes into it, and yeah, so it's just a lot for Willow to handle. And Kaz and Willow kind of have a bit of a relationship, but you know, they find out that it's dangerous to do that, so they're trying not to. And also, Willow has plans to go back to Earth. You know, she's not trying to stay in this place that is. I feel like I did a horrible job at explaining that, but it was really good. I will say that this handles some heavier themes. So I would look into the content warnings for sure. Yeah, this was a 3.5. I do plan to continue on. It ended on a massive cliffhanger. Moving on into our 4 stars, we have The Games Gods Play, and this is by Abigail Owen. And I really enjoyed this. So in this, we are following Lyra, who works as an office clerk for the Order of Thieves because her parents dropped her off to repay their own debt. So she's been with them basically her whole life, and she has been cursed by Zeus, and this curse makes it difficult for her to make connections with people. So every 100 years, the gods decide to host these games, and these games are in remembrance of a war that the gods had with each other where they basically demolished everything. So to see who will be the king or queen of gods, and so that war doesn't happen again, they choose champions or mortals to fight for them. So it's kind of, in a way, think like um Hunger Games esque in that way, I guess you could say. And so leading up to the games, you know, there's a lot of events and things like that. And Laurie just gets really frustrated and upset with Zeus for having this curse, for having cursed her. And so she decides that she's going to go deface his temple. And while she's there, she runs into none other than Hades himself. And they have a little meet cute moment. And then, as the gods are announcing their champions, Hades decides that he wants to choose Lyra. He never selects a champion for the Crucible because he is already the king of the underworld. And so, like, for him to be the king of the underworld and the upper world, like, that's wild. But he has an interest to do so this year. So there's the mystery of that. And then also going through these trials and just navigating all of that. It's really interesting. And I had a really great time. Lyra is one of those characters who says what she's thinking and doesn't, you know, she doesn't actually think before she says something. She just says it. And I like that. She's funny. I think she's funny. You might not. I think Abigail Owen's writing was funny. I really liked the friendship that the champions built in this and how they didn't just do what the gods expected them to do. Um, and yeah, I liked Hades and Lyra's relationship and their banter, like how they spoke to each other and just, their situation. And this was very twisty turny. There were some things that I did not expect to happen in this, but the way this ended, I am ready to see what's gonna happen because I feel like the second book is going to be explosive. And also they just did a cover reveal for this second book, and she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous and I gotta have her. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this. My next 4-star is Smoked and Spiced by Casey Mills, and this is a novella as well. And we follow Kaylie, and Kaylie owns a food truck along with her sister where they sell cupcakes, and they just got, a chance to be a part of this food alley where they are at a business park and all the food trucks line up for lunchtime. And so they're really excited about that. And so they got there early and got like the best spot. And a guy from the barbecue truck named Braden walks up and's like, hey, this is our spot. And the way it works in this community, it kind of goes by seniority, and we just get the same spots every day, and we respect that. And Kaylie was like, I'm not moving my truck. Like, I don't care that this is your spot. We ain't going nowhere. So basically, Braden makes a bet with Kaylie over the parking spot and also adds a little dinner onto that as well because they're immediately attracted to each other and they, are doing the cute flirty banter type thing. So either way, they're going on a date. And once they do, sparks kind of fly and it's really cute. I so enjoyed this couple. I liked them individually as characters and then also as a couple. Braden has that really cute, funny arrogance thing that I like. That's my thing. So I was a fan of him. Also, Braden has 5 piercings and they are in very interesting places. So, you might want to check that out and see what you think about that because I thought it was very interesting. Yeah. And Kaylie is just very sassy as well. She was like, I don't care if what I think you are saying is cute. I'm going to, talk shit with you and we're going to, go back and forth and love that. Love some good banter. So yeah, I enjoyed this a lot more than I expected to. And I am for sure looking forward to reading some more from Casey Mills. And yeah. And our last 4-star is Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. And in Phantasma, we are following Ophelia, whose mother passed. And so she has to take over the necromancing powers that run in the family. And then they found out that their mother left them a buttload of debt. And so to fix that, Ophelia's little sister Genevieve decides to enter Phantasma, which is like this game of games type situation where you go through trials and if you win, you get a wish. And so Ophelia is really worried about Genevieve going into Phantasma, so she decides to go herself and um try to get Genevieve and leave because you are allowed to forfeit. But she can't even get in contact with Genevieve until like the 7th trial. So she is realized that she has to go through these trials. And while she's there is this phantom named Blackwell that has insisted upon helping Ophelia with Phantasma. But of course, devils always make deals. So she makes a deal with him and he is going to help her, get through Phantasma. And this is very good. Ophelia has OCD, and in my opinion, it was a good representation of what that looks like or can look like because, everything presents differently in each person. And I liked, again, the banter between Ophelia and Blackwell. I thought that was really cute. And while I was reading this, it was hard for me to connect to the story and to the characters. Like I wasn't having a bad time. I just wasn't invested I guess you could say. So it was maybe a 3, maybe a 3.5. And then I got 80% into this book. And when I tell you that last 20% is what gave it an extra star for me. And so, yeah, the last 80% really did it for me. I mean, nope. The last 20% really did it for me. And that's why I ended up rating this a 4 star. And our last book is going to be my only 5 star for the month, but also one of my favorite books of 2024 for sure, and possibly even of all time. Okay. And that is Immortal Dark by Tigest Girma. And this book was impressive. Okay. For a debut novel like this, Tigest was writing all caps. Okay. So in this, we're following Kaiden, whose twin sister, I think they're twins, or maybe they're just sisters, I don't know. June went missing, and so she is trying to find June. Okay. And she is turning the world upside down to find her sister. And she does some very bad things, again, trying to find her sister. Like, that's her only goal. She doesn't care how, what she has to do, none of that. She is going to find her sister. And so Kaiden is a part of the Adane family, who is one of the families that has gone into like a partnership, companionship with vampires, and they are only allowed to drink blood from the families who have, entered this situation. Kaiden actually thinks that the vampire sworn to her family, Cicinos, is the person who had something to do with June's disappearing. So she decides to go to Uxley University, which is where all the houses are and where you go to like learn about vampire, human companionship, all the things. So she goes there because it's also where Cecinos is living to, try to figure out the truth and to try to find June. Kaiden hates Cecinos because she thinks he had something to do with her sister disappearing, and Cecinos hates Kaiden because she is standing in the way of him inheriting House Adane, because only one of them can do so. And if Kaiden decides that she wants to be heir, then there's nothing Cecinos can do about it. And so they have to live in this house together. And it's just very it's a very hostile environment for sure. And there's secrets that come out. That's basically it. There are so many things that happen in this book. This is true enemies to lovers. There's no, they're not getting together in this book. And if you've read this book, it makes sense. Why? Because it just really doesn't make sense for them to be together at this point. And Kaiden is very one-track minded. She makes bad decisions. She doesn't think things through. She is just very much so, I have to find my sister. I don't care. She's a little misunderstood, but I felt for Kaiden. I understood where she was coming from with, how she was raised and all the things. Like, she didn't really have any guidance. She was out here doing this on her own. And yeah, I love this book so much. There's so many important discussions, so many plot twists, so much history. Like, there's so much packed into this book, and I enjoyed every page. Easy 5 star, easily one of my favorite books of the year, and everybody needs to read this. So, yes. And with that being said, that is our November wrap up. We had, some hits and some mids and some misses. So, a mixture of everything this month. And I can't believe that we are heading into December, into the last month of 2024. This has been the longest and the quickest year ever. I wanted to talk about December. My plan is to do 12 days of Bookmas, and I think I'm going to take the every other day approach. So we'll be ending right at Christmas time, and I'm really excited, really scared to be taking on such a big challenge as Bookmas, especially with this being my first half year on YouTube, but I think it's going to be fun and I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself, and whatever happens, happens. So, yeah, be on the lookout for my first Bookmas video on December 1st. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for listening to me yap about books, because it's my favorite thing to do. Make sure you check out my socials in the description box just to stay, caught up with me. And yeah, I hope you have the best day that you possibly can. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.